fire release, wind release, and lightning release? What if Naruto had employed a training regimen that consisted of these three chakra natures throughout his training period with Jaraya, and by doing so, creating a Keke Tota, being a line of jutsu combining these three nature releases, somewhat mimicking that of the Tsuchikage's particle style, and possibly making him just as famous. So, without further ado, what if Naruto had Blaze release? Not to be confused with the Uchiha's Black Flame, nor Scorch. So, with that out of the way, roll that intro. The team, or the assault force, would now return back to the Leaf. Obviously not at shinobi pace, as all of them are pretty low on both chakra and stamina, meaning they would most likely travel at civilian speeds, merely walking and even camping once or twice. And the reason this is being mentioned and so important to the story is actually because the first time they go out camping, or at least fall asleep whilst camping, even though they were split into, I guess you could say, guard parties, as in people who alternate watching, while Naruto was doing the same, something had felt off. He had sat against a tree to where he could use his sensory jutsu to the fullest, but as he opened his eyes to look over his comrades, something seemed funny. They seemed rearranged in a certain way, and he doesn't remember sensing any of them moving. So he's pretty curious. He would use his sensory ability, or at least enhance it with everything that he's been taught, even using a second to gather chakra, or at least as much as he could, until he senses something. It's not too clear and pretty vague, and could even just be a random animal. But nevertheless, Naruto would throw a shuriken at it. As the shuriken flies, his vision is no longer foggy. The vision clears up completely, his comrades back in order, and a man standing where he had sensed something, who had caught the shuriken with one finger, through the middle. This is where the man would laugh and say that Naruto has gotten much better since when he was a kid, and Naruto would get in a battle stance. He would be prepared to fight the individual that he knows as Itachi Uchiha. Itachi would shrug Naruto off, saying that there's no reason to assume a fighting stance as they won't be fighting. He's merely here to talk. Naruto proclaiming some things about Sasuke and how Itachi's the reason why he left in the first place, he would attack. For Itachi to easily ward off all Naruto's attacks and even burst into a flock of crows. But this doesn't really do much, as Naruto's sensory is able to pick up where the real Itachi is, and he would lunge another attack, for Itachi just to simply just push it off once again. This would interact for a while as they would start talking. Naruto would never truly stop fighting, as they would still be clashing, throwing jutsu, and so on and so forth, with Itachi explaining that Naruto needs to be prepared. Naruto would tell Itachi that the only thing he's prepared for is to save Sasuke. This is where Itachi would reveal that he's going to be summoning Sasuke to a very specific spot, and when the time comes he will send Naruto a crow which would reveal to him the location of where it is. Naruto would say that he won't let Itachi hurt Sasuke, with only Itachi revealing that some things had happened. A certain individual in the Leaf, Danzo, had actually forced him, or not necessarily forced him, but implored him to kill the Uchiha clan. And he's scared that his current employers, the Akatsuki, who had actually helped him get rid of the clan, would tell Sasuke this, and that Sasuke might turn against the village. At first, Naruto wouldn't believe this, as not an elder from the Leaf could actually betray them, with him just saying that Danzo doesn't care about the Leaf in actuality, only his own reputation in defending it, and to him the Uchiha were a threat, and they needed to go. So he wants Naruto to pop up at the Uchiha stronghold to make sure Sasuke never interacts with the Akatsuki. Naruto would still be skeptical and throw what he thinks is a final jutsu, something that would definitely at least incapacitate Itachi, at the max, definitely cripple him. He would throw a full-powered Blaze Rasengan at Itachi, with Itachi merely shrugging it off. I know you might think, how is that possible? A Rasen Shuriken should kill anyone it comes in contact with. This is where we see a orange hue coming from the smoke where it had made contact. We see Itachi using a Susanoo skeleton, more of a half-body skeleton and not just a ribcage in this case, meaning he unveiled to Naruto the ultimate defense of the Uchiha, and would even give a few lines of explanation as Naruto was attacked by a crow who was forcing its way down his throat. Minutes later, Naruto would jump up as he would awaken from the spot he had been sitting previously, where he would think at first that he had only been sleeping, meaning he would for the most part shrug off the entire situation, thinking that it was a mere nightmare. So this is where we'd progress to the point where they'd return to the village. Naruto would still have the interaction with Itachi on his brain, but is more than convinced that it wasn't real. Meaning when the next set of occurrences, I guess, happens, he would be rather surprised. And by next set of occurrences, I mean a crow landing in front of him to reveal that he needs to go to the Uchiha hideout. And there is a map layout and exact explanation on how to get there. So he would set off. But you're probably wondering why Naruto's setting off to the Uchiha hideout so early. This is because of them not having an interaction with Sasuke and Orochimaru early on. Sasuke had actually gained some time and had actually been able to kill Orochimaru earlier on and assemble Team Taka, which I won't necessarily go over since that would mostly be canon. Meaning we would be heading to the Sasuke versus Itachi or Itachi pursuit arc a lot earlier, with Itachi blatantly telling Sasuke where he is. Meaning we would get that Sasuke versus Itachi battle. But obviously you're not here to listen to some canon events just re-explained, so I'll actually go into the changes. Starting with Naruto's approach to the bout. In this specific case, as Naruto was closing in on the location of the battle, he would see a giant cloud of smoke followed by a giant explosive sound and the emergence of a giant multi-headed serpent. This would cause him to pick up the pace as he wants to get there to make sure Sasuke isn't getting completely pummeled by Itachi. He would realize that the snake probably has something more to do with Orochimaru than anyone else, but he can't be too sure, so he would merely pick up the pace, as I said. And as he does close into the hideout and even attempt to jump into the battle, he would be hit back. His sensory had not been active as he could see everything that he needed to, but that was clearly not enough, as he would be thrown to the side. He would also feel some of his chakra having left his body. This leaves him facing with Kisame Hoshigaki, who is obviously there to prevent interference in the fight. At first, Naruto was prepared to fight to get past him, but would see some more individuals. 3 more to be specific. A red-haired girl called Karin, a white-haired man called Soigetsu, and a big person in somewhat of a cloak who names himself Jugo. Obviously, Naruto would interact with them first, thinking that they might jump him or something, but they would reveal that they are actually there with Sasuke, as they are a part of a team he constructed called Team Taka. Naruto would want to interact with them, but still wants to get past Kisame, and would even ask the group why they're not trying to do the same. They would reveal that Kisame is beyond any of their levels, and even if Naruto was the 9 tails, Kisame, even though not having a beast, is considered to be one himself, or at least what people call the tailless tailed beast. So, even if Naruto was going to fight him, he would need to be a lot stronger than he seems to be currently. But nevertheless, this doesn't stop Naruto, as he would proceed with a battle against Kisame. Obviously, this is where the battle between Orochimaru and Itachi would get heated, with Itachi unveiling his half-body complete Susanoo, and even the use of both the Yatamir and Totsuka blade, meaning he's about to obliterate Orochimaru really quickly. And while he's doing that, Naruto is facing against Kisame, which is actually a pretty good fight, as Naruto as of recently had been learning lightning style, meaning he has some gain up on obviously Kisame, but Naruto mostly knows how to use lightning style within Blaze Release itself, meaning that he can't use the water as some sort of a conduit to get to Kisame. But his fire, due to the enhancement of wind, is more than strong enough to overpower Kisame's water. At this point, he just needs to avoid Kisame's constant attempts at stealing his chakra. So that bout would go almost exactly how you think. Naruto trying to keep his distance and Kisame trying to gain up on Naruto, with Naruto even needing to resort to throwing a Rasen Shuriken or two and constantly overwhelming at least Kisame's water jutsu with his own blaze jutsu. This would obviously impress their crowd, being Team Taka, and he would most likely not gain any sustenance to where Kisame would simply give up. He'd reveal that it's too late, as Naruto would feel a certain chakra fading away. At this point, he had already activated his sentry to gain an advantage on Kisame, and he would feel this all too familiar chakra fading away, being that of Itachi's. Kisame would reveal that it's too late and Itachi had already died, meaning he would let them pass. This is where both Naruto and Team Taka would rush to see an unconscious Sasuke who had stood with a Chidori through Itachi. At this point, Sasuke would fall unconscious and Naruto was merely trying to wake him up, as he had not seen Sasuke in quite a while. Karin would force Naruto off, as she said she can't heal him with Naruto practically taking up all that space. This would intrigue Naruto, as the only medical shinobi he had known up until this point is some of the doctors in the hospital, Sakura, Shizune, and even Tsunade, meaning it's really not a common occurrence to see them. And to see that she was using her physical body to heal him instead of some sort of jutsu would intrigue Naruto, and would leave him asking too many questions. She would merely reply that it's her clan's Kekkei Genkai, which would even trigger his curiosity more. This would eventually spark into her practically hitting him like Sakura usually does, and saying that she would handle it later. For now, they need to worry about Sasuke. So, as Sasuke's ailment, or at least heated body, cools down and he becomes a lot more stable, Karin would finally take a break, letting her and Naruto spark into conversation, unveiling them both to be Uzumaki. This is where they would practically camp out for the night and even take turns standing guard, with Karin being able to sleep the way through, as she had exhausted herself trying to help Sasuke. So, when Sasuke would eventually awaken, there would probably be a giant conversation sparked. But while this entire arc was going on, another was as well. As some of you might know, this is around the same point, or at least simultaneously occurs, to Jaraya going to the Land of Rain to obviously fight off against Pain and try and gain information on the Akatsuki. He would, as per usual, get into a battle with Pain and would actually do a lot better than he did canonically. Us not needing to go into exacts, I would explain the changes. When he's eventually forced to use his Perfect Sage Mode or his Great Sage Mode with the two toads upon his shoulders, it would be unveiled that he is a lot better off. Instead of the toads using separate ninjutsu to power him, he would actually be using his Blaze Release powered with the toad's jutsu as well, meaning that his blind points weren't as much blind points, and he would actually be able to fully incinerate multiple paths, meaning that the King of Hell would not necessarily be able to bring them back. But what would surprise him is the fight with the Pareda path, as he can never get close enough to actually hit a substantial amount, or he can't get far enough away to actually use his Blaze Release, meaning that there was one thing left to do. Attempt to use a Fire Jutsu, and then as he is closing in, use an Odama Rasengan powered by Blaze Release. This is where at least Jaraya would have that similar realization that he did into canon, that the Pareda path is actually Yahiko, and he would actually try and talk himself out of the situation. This is where he would also be revealed to see, or at least hear, Nagato through Yahiko, and even see Konan, as now with multiple paths obliterated and probably one or two remaining, them really being at a big disadvantage, meaning Konan would have to step in to fight against their previous sensei. This wouldn't end exactly as per usual, as Jaraya would not be able to make the imprint on the toad, meaning he wouldn't actually be able to warn them of the invasion or anything alike. As, specifically, Naruto had already learned some control over Sage Mode, and not even being present in the leaf to be summoned to Mount Nyoboku, that means that Naruto would have to fight off against Pain immediately at his arrival at Konoha. So, at this point, we see that the injuries that Jaraya had sustained is substantially less, as he was merely pinned in his arms and his legs, and that there were paper bombs strapped to his body as he was sinking down into the water. We would fade away as we would see the water practically go up in somewhat of a geyser as the explosions go off. But something curious had occurred this time. One of the two toads, more specifically Lord Fukasaku, had actually still been present, meaning that this could be a lot more severe than it initially had been. But that's going to bring the end to this part of what if Naruto had Blaze Release. If you want to see the impact of Naruto being present after Sasuke's fight with Itachi and his absence while Jaraya was fighting Pain would change the world of Naruto, make sure to hit that bell notification so that you're notified when the next part comes out. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like and subscribe. So, with that out of the way, I would like to give a quick promotion to this video you see in the cards right here. This is an SMP on Minecraft that me and my friends run, and we really do want to be uploading these videos pretty constantly. No, these videos won't necessarily disrupt the what if schedule, as the what ifs will still be coming out every other day, and the Minecraft videos will be coming out in between those days when I do have them recorded and edited, as they are kind of relaxing to make. So if you want to help support me and other what ifers, make sure to go check out that video. With that also out of the way, I would like to give a shout out to everybody you see on screen. These are the members of the channel who help financially support and sustain us, and do let me use YouTube as a creative outlet while gaining some financials. So if you want to see your name on screen, or even be, I guess, given a special role and special privileges in my Discord, maybe check out the join button, or alternatively the link in the description. So, this has been your boy Six. Peace.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Subscribe for more.
Yada yada does it.